We begin the day with Joe Biden under the weather and Donald Trump's campaign apparently over the moon. Today, the White House confirmed that U.S. President Biden has tested positive for COVID. His campaign events, at least for today, were canceled, but there may be more cancellations ahead. Two titans of the Democratic Party, former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and former U.S. President Barack Obama, have both reportedly voiced concerns that Biden may not be able to win re-election in November against Donald Trump. Their names added to a growing list of doubting Democrats. And all of this is happening as the momentum for a Trump victory grows. The latest boost came Wednesday night at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee when Trump's vice presidential running mate, J.D. Vance, introduced himself to the country.
President Trump represents America's last best hope to restore what, if lost, may never be found again. A country where a working-class boy born far from the halls of power can stand on this stage as the next vice president of the United States of America.
Once a staunch critic of Donald Trump, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance left no room to doubt his loyalty to the former president when he accepted the nomination to be his running mate. A working-class boy from the American heartland who dragged himself out of poverty, this is the message that he will take forward in the election campaign to win over blue-collar workers. Vance says that protecting the needs of ordinary citizens includes taking a tough line on U.S. foreign policy.
Together, we will make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace. No more free rides for nations that betray the generosity of the American taxpayer.
There is overwhelming support at the RNC for the Trump-Vance ticket. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden is dealt another blow to his campaign and image as he is diagnosed with COVID-19 while on the campaign trail in Las Vegas. As he takes a step back from campaigning and returns home to recover, uncertainty about his candidacy continues to build within his own ranks. Californian Congressman Adam Schiff is one of the latest leading Democrats calling on Joe Biden to step down from the presidential race. Concerns over Biden's age and cognitive abilities are overshadowing his campaign, which a growing chorus of lawmakers say increases his risk of losing to Donald Trump in November.
Well, DW's Washington Bureau Chief Ines Pohl joins me now from the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. Good evening to you, Ines. Before we talk about the GOP, I'd like to discuss this growing list of doubting Democrats who publicly or privately don't think that Joe Biden can win against Donald Trump in November. The latest addition to this list is former President Barack Obama. Tell me, what have you heard today?
Yeah, and that's, of course, huge. I mean, Joe Biden worked under Barack Obama. Barack Obama and Joe Biden, they were really close. And what we hear is that Barack Obama only talked once to President Biden after his weak performance during this debate, but that the pressure from within the Democratic Party really got higher, that former President Obama also spoke with Biden to step down after Nancy Pelosi talked to him, after Hakeem Jeffries talked to him, representative of the House, and then, of course, Chuck Schumer also kind of raised concerns that Biden would not only lose the election, but might also be losing states like Colorado or New Jersey, which have been Democratic since more than 20 years. So the pressure definitely is getting stronger and stronger.
And Ines, how do you explain how quickly the opposition to Biden has grown since that debate debacle last month? I mean, do you think that the media, especially the U.S. media, do you think they've reported this story fairly, or are you surprised at the speed with which mainstream media have reported Biden as the candidate who won't be able to win?
That's a very, very good question, Brand. And I was wondering myself when I saw the reporting, getting kind of more intense per hour sometimes after the debate. And, there was a huge concern that people would not be tuned into this debate because two known old white men running against each other. Many people told us when we were traveling this huge country, oh, wow, this is the most boring election campaign ever. And that, of course, is not good for making money for the big networks. So I wonder if this played into the fact that they reported so intensely about Joe Biden. But having that said, of course, this performance was horrible, and every single interview he gave afterwards couldn't really turn the tide. I was at the NATO summit in Washington following his presser. He wasn't convincing there either. So Joe Biden just really seems to get more tired by the day.
Today, the news of Biden testing positive for COVID, you get the sense that it was reported as another nail in his re-election coffin. I'm wondering, how would this story be reported if Donald Trump tested positive for COVID tomorrow?
Well, Donald Trump is in a totally different spot right now. I mean, he's just like on the top level I've seen him ever. Like, everybody seems to love him, at least here, of course, at the Republican National Convention. And he doesn't appear to be weak, even after the assassination attempt. He seems to be back in the game, being strong. I mean, just minutes after he nearly got killed, he was raising his fist, shouting or telling his supporters, fight, fight. So I think if he would be tested, it wouldn't be seen as like such a big thing for President Biden as it is for Joe Biden.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it does seem like the two men, there's different treatments there when you're talking at least about a virus. This week in Milwaukee, all the talk has been about Trump, the candidate who dodged a bullet. That assassination attempt, how did it impact the convention and Trump's campaign? I mean, it's only been, 5-6 days ago?
Yeah, it definitely was dominating the first day. We arrived here on Sunday and everybody was talking about it. And, there are many, many very religious people here at the RNC, and you wouldn't believe how many told us when we talked to them that the Lord Almighty had something to do with the fact that Donald Trump is still alive. I mean, he got out of this stronger than he was before. We shall see how this really impacted him. When he came here the first night, when we saw him, he still looked very tired and kind of really thoughtful, if one can say that. We shall see, how this moment, this really life-death experience might have changed him. He wouldn't be the first one, would he?
That's true. That is true. I mean, he's not the first president to dodge a bullet or to be hit by a bullet, that's for sure. And then, Ines, there is Trump's vice presidential running mate, J.D. Vance. Now, I mean, he's a millennial. He's the youngest person ever nominated to be a vice presidential running mate. But Trump reportedly decided on Vance just hours before it became public, 2 days after the shooting. Amazing. How do you explain this last-minute decision-making about, his own running mate?
Well, first of all, I think Donald Trump really enjoys having all the power in his hands. And just to be able to wait until pretty much the very last minute to announce who his running mate would be, I honestly think he just enjoyed that. But of course, they were also checking out the polls that definitely were watching very closely the Biden campaign. Is Biden stepping down or not? What if Kamala Harris comes in or not? So these are all factors also coming together. And of course, I mean, as you just said, J.D. Vance is super young. He delivered a fantastic speak just right behind me last night, and he's giving a lot of energy into the campaign. And it was also interesting, Brent, we talked to many people here before he spoke, and they didn't really know them. Of course, they've heard of him, but weren't really familiar with him. But afterwards, they were just so fascinated and all behind him. He, in many eyes, just represents the American dream. So this really goes down very well with this crowd here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Ines, the American dream. I'm wondering, is J.D. Vance, is he the golden boy for Donald Trump. Does he guarantee that Trump will win in November?
He definitely will help Trump to get the younger voters. We also talked to many younger Republican Party members here in Milwaukee, and he might also allow Donald Trump to be a little bit more presidential, to be a little bit more thoughtful, to hold back, like with his decisive, sometimes even toxic language. He could leave that to his VP. But it shall be interesting to watch if Donald Trump is really able to keep up with the fact that J.D. Vance is so successful and might be really winning over the hearts of many potential Republican voters. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch over the next couple of months.
Yeah, it reminds me of what my grandmother used to say. There can only be one star in a relationship. So we'll see which one tends to be the star in this duo. I know, Ines, that you've spoken to German lawmakers who are at the GOP convention this week. Are German politicians, despite their public worries about a second Trump presidency, are they preparing already the channels of communication between a Trump White House and Berlin?
Oh, they definitely are. You know, this is my third convention I'm covering for DW, and I've never seen so many lawmakers from Europe attending these conventions. They don't want to make the same mistake as they did in 2020. They already want to work kind of on, keeping the channels open to the Republican Party. I, for example, talked to Jens Spahn from the conservative German party CDU, and he told me that there are many, that the CDU and he in particular thinks that there are many common things they have in common, both parties. So this is something people are watching out for. And I also had the chance to talk to Mr. Link. He's the coordinator of the transatlantic relationships from the German government with the United States. And he also was very frank. He said, the United States are our most important trade partner. They are very important for our security in Europe and Germany. So yes, of course, they are going to work or try to work with every government in the White House. And this is what they're doing here. There's a lot of networking going on.
All right, and final two questions. After all that has happened in the past week in this presidential race, Ines, one, do you think Biden's name will be on the ballot in November? And if not, who will be the Democratic nominee in November?
You know that if the Democratic Party is smart, they really will come up with a new plan very, very fast, and they would maybe be able to take a little bit of the momentum away from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, but they have to be quick on their feet with finding a solution. It's totally open. If it will be the Vice President Kamala Harris, she would be the natural choice, but is she really able to compete successfully against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance? We will see, but I think the name will not be Joe Biden.
All right, our Washington Bureau Chief Ines Pohl, approaching the end of what has been quite an eventful week in U.S. politics for both the Democrats and the Republicans. Ines, it's always good talking with you. Thank you.